Packmates, a podcast about Magic the Gathering Limited, where we take a dive into the current limited formats. The Packmates are a group of millennial card sharks that love drafting, hanging out, and going to F&M. Don't forget to check out our socials and join the Discord. Go ahead and like the video, comment, ask questions, all the stuff. All the links are in the description. I'm Ryan, the artifact expert.
I'm Robi, the resident turtle expert.
This week we're talking F&M, and we're going to do a little bit talking about curves.
And there's no Andrew this
We
week.
are... Oh.
And
We are the Packmates.
got him.
You said, and there's no Andrew this week. You totally baited me.
My bad.
It's okay. It's okay.
I just wasn't following the script.
You know,
You lost me on millennial.
The
I don't
prank
feel
wars,
like a millennial, bro.
The prank war has begun with that, and I want you to know.
Yeah, I'm hardly a millennial. I don't like being grouped in with you old people.
You're a millennial.
Barely. I'm like the cutoff year, right? I don't feel
know.
like one.
Well, you are one, so.
But like, what does that even mean, Ryan?
It's biology.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we have an understanding.
It's science.
All right, tell us about this F&M.
Okay, I had a sweet Azorius, that's white blue, artifact aggro deck this week. I was loaded up on 2-drops, and then my win condition was basically like plated onslaught, which is instant affinity for artifacts, which means it costs 1 less for each artifact you control. 5 mana with a 3 and a double white for creatures you control, get +2/+1 until end of turn. That was one of my win cons, or Unctus's Grand Mechatech, which is the 1 and double blue for the 2/4 legendary artifact creature. And his most relevant text is other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. So it's like an additional copy of Plated Onslaught, kind of. And then you can turn things into blue artifacts. When blue creatures are tapped, you can loot. You can draw the discard. The deck was just like establish a board that has more creatures than your opponents, then play Unctus or Plated Onslaught to finish. Chrome Prowlers to get in good attacks, which Chrome Prowlers is a 3/2 with flash that you can tap something down. And I also had 3 Surgical Skull Bombs, which were like very good in my deck. That's the 1 mana Skull Bomb. They can pay 1 and draw a card, or pay 3, bounce a creature and draw a card.
Yep.
The curve of the deck stopped at 4. I had 1 4-drop, and I had Plated Onslaught. Plated Onslaught usually costs 3 or less. 3 or 2, I guess, is all that it could cost. But the 4-drop I had this week was Orthodoxy Enforcer. That's a 2/4 vigilance, and it gets +2/+0 if you have more than 2 artifacts, 2 or more other artifacts. And
do you normally play that in blue white?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not normally play that, but that was my Eye of Malcator replacement. Since the eyes weren't flowing, like I just jammed that in, and like it might be just as good. Honestly,
I've always assumed that actually goes in the blue white deck. I've only played it a couple times, but every time I've played it, I've played Orthodoxy Enforcers.
Like I usually end up cutting it because I'm leaning heavier on eyes, and it's not an artifact itself.
Yeah, that's like its biggest flaw, right?
Right. Yeah. If it was an artifact, it would be amazing, I think. But I think without the eyes, I think it's serviceable. I think it like today with the Unctus's Grand Mechatech, like I could just pay 2 life and make it an artifact, and it's like a 5/5 vigilance. And then I had 2 ways in my deck to give it flying. Like it was kind of disgusting, honestly.
Yeah.
And it has great blocks, right? Like it's a 2/4 with vigilance. I had like a lot of vigilance dudes. Like
yeah, it looks like it.
I like Mandible Justiciars were like just super solid. I played a little bit of cards that were out of place. It was a real tight pod, so I like was kind of scrounging for some playables.
The flesh cutter kind of looks like you're kind of scrounging.
Yeah, the flesh cutter,
It's
like
good,
I did have.
It makes artifacts too, right?
Yeah, it makes artifacts. Like on Mandible Justiciar, it turns him into like a 5/2 lifelinker every time he attacks, like by itself, which is kind of good, you know? And then I had a Swooping Lookout. That's the 1/2 flying vigilance dude, and 2 of the 1/1 Malcator's Watchers with flying and vigilance. And it was like pretty sick on those, as well as Gitaxian Raptor. But yeah, I mean, like it was kind of like I didn't get my Plated Onslaught or Unctus. And so like I'm just gonna push like 3 damage through a turn kind of safely. while I wait on my deck to like find the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then build a board. But yeah.
Was all your vigilance stuff, did that ever become like a non-bow with like Unctus?
Yes. Yes, it did.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like,
Yeah, so like
it
Unctus, whenever a blue creature you control becomes tapped, you get a draw card and discard a card. And like there was a time I played it and I had like a swooping lookout and a Malcator's Watcher, and like that was it.
that's
Like,
funny. That's super funny.
yeah, like it was still super good because like a 2/3 and a 2/2 flyer, right? But
Yeah,
like,
for one, right? Like, that's pretty
yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a little bit, but the deck performed very well. Like I call it kind of aggressive because of the curve of it, but it was like kind of fine in most phases of the game. Like I think if it went like super, super, super late, then I probably don't win a ton of games. But like I did beat 2 Wanderer board wipes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that's saying something, you know?
Yeah.
And my
My other
only
que Oh,
oh go
go
ahead.
ahead.
My only
No,
real removal was Surgical Skull Bomb and Chrome Prowler. Like, which is not removal. I have no other
yeah.
removal besides Annex Entry, which I never drew the entire night. So
Yeah.
and it
My
was good
my
enough.
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Sorry.
Oh, my one question is Unctus is the blue creatures whenever they become tapped, draw
Yeah.
and discard. That's not a May ability, right? Like you
Right.
have to do that.
Yeah.
Is that ever a bad thing?
Oh, in a bad deck, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It wasn't in this deck. Like it was
it was fine.
just getting me closer to my plated onslaught or Chrome Prowlers to finish the
Hmm.
game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or Unctus's Retrofitter, which is always a bomb. Like Unctus's Retrofitter is so good, it's wild. Like I even used, and I used this on Andrew, so I'm gonna say his name. I had a Swooping Lookout and Malcator's Watcher, right?
Yeah,
And I had 5 mana, and I had Infested Flesh Cutter and Unctus's Retrofitter in my hand. And I played the Flesh Cutter, equipped it to the Watcher because like he's like keeping mana up, and he killed the Watcher to like make me draw, you know, because I spent my whole turn like equipping it before I attacked. And then next turn I just slam down Unctus's Retrofitter and Unctus Grand Mechatech and just crush him.
that's funny.
Like, yeah, because like I baited it out because I knew if I played the Retrofitter down, like he was just gonna kill whatever I
Mhm.
like made a 4/4. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and so I
yep.
spent my whole turn equipping Flesh Cutter, and he's like, "Ah, I'm gonna kill your Malcator's Watcher." I was like, "Oh no, really? I'm shocked." And then the next turn, I was like, "Bam!"
That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, this looks pretty clean though.
yeah. It was.
A little bit of sketchiness to it. Just a little.
I have a niche, like a very niche question for you.
Yep.
I'm playing Andrew game 2. I only saw part of his deck. I see him sideboard and stuff in. Okay, he saw some flyers because I have a good amount of flyers.
So it brings in the 1/3 spider.
That's my thought process. He brings in the 1/3 spider, so I take out Aspirant's Ascent and just bring in +2/2 for one and
Ah,
a white. Is that
I don't think that's correct.
you don't
I
think
think you
so? You
just
think
leave
the
it.
Ascent's
Yeah.
better?
Yeah.
It was +2/2 and equipped creatures get indestructible, and I do have the Flesh Cutter
But that's it.
and Gold Warden
Yeah.
Tome.
Yeah, but you're really playing combat tricks to make your golden warrior some get in. You're
I mean,
tripping.
like if I
like
have to,
like if you have to, but like
like the
isn't
one
like
three like stunts me.
yeah, but like you can if you like it's just as good. Like the aspirant's ascent is like just as good, right?
No,
Like
because it doesn't kill
how many
me.
one power creatures do you really have? A couple, I
I mean,
guess,
my
but
flyers, like literally all of my flyers.
yeah, it's whatever.
I don't know. I thought that was the correct play. I thought, like, I was like, I lose to 1/3s, and he's playing Axiom Engravers, and I assumed he was going to board in some spiders. So that was one of the sideboard choices I made. Experimental Augury was super good though, like to help me find my stuff.
Yeah, it's like a little out of place here, right?
Yeah, like the proliferate literally did nothing except for once it gave me. Oh no, it gave me a thing on the Gataxian Raptor and it gave me a thing on the Atmosphere Surgeon.
Yeah, atmosphere surgeon is a good reason to have it, but I
Yeah.
like
That's the 2/1 that gets like a oil counter whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and you can remove an oil counter to get
gives
something
everything
flying.
on your board flying.
Yeah.
like it's good. Very
Uh,
good.
yeah, the deck was super solid. 15 lands was good. 3 surgical skull bombs made that like not a problem at all. Like I could just pop it for one and draw. And with the 2 auguries, like you would definitely rather have an augury than like another land, right?
Yep.
Yeah, same. And then I always got to put the Dune Mover in my deck when I can, just because he's the goat.
Yep, seems good.
Yep, went 3-0. Got Andrew. My deck basically one game with like really good attacks. Escaped Experiment was good. Manable Justiciar would always be like a 3-2 or a 4-3. Surgical Spell Bomb again was like an all-star. And Unctus's Grand Mech Attack like hard carried. Like he would just come in the board and just blast people and they would just be on defense like for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for that for sure.
Yep, that was it. What about your deck, Roby?
I had probably the weirdest deck I've had in this entire format. Like, so well, my archetype was it was like 4 color good stuff basically, but that doesn't really like paint the picture. Like I basically had like the actual planeswalker deck. Like I had 4 planeswalkers in my deck. Like what ended me up there is I like first picked a Kaya, and then basically every pack after that, my first pick in every pack was a planeswalker. And then in pack 3, I got past another planeswalker pretty far. Like it made it pretty far. My
Pick
Kaido,
4. Yeah.
yeah, the Kaido, the 4 mana blue black planeswalker,
It was pick 5, wasn't it? It was pick 5.
something like that. No, I think it was pick 4.
I opened the Kaido and I thought about trying to
Yeah,
splash it, but I was like, nah.
yeah, and it made it all the way to me, and I took it over an annoy just because like the annoy was probably better. But like I'm never gonna get to like ever legend rule myself ever again. Like
The
that's so
planeswalkers in
funny.
draft.
I
Yeah.
even said something about it when I took it. I was like, because Andrew was right next to me and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna take that?" I was like, "I don't know, Andrew. I don't know if I want to legend rule myself." Like, but yeah, I
Um,
had 2 Kaidos, and yeah, basically my win record was basically 2-0-1. I had to buy round 1, and then one game just ended up going to time. Just felt like we didn't have enough time. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure how my deck wins games. Like when I like asked myself that question, I was just like, I don't know. I guess I just control the game until I get to like just do degenerate planeswalker stuff. And there's a couple. My main planeswalker was probably Kaya. It's probably the best card in my deck. Like it's -3, which is like the only real ability you ever really do, other than the sometimes you draw cards, but makes it so you exile your opponent's creature, and you get to make a 1/1 copy of it
yeah, that's so sick.
with flying too, right?
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
sick.
it's so unbelievably good. And
Like,
it's like unkillable too, because it has hexproof. Kaya has hexproof, so hard to deal with.
yeah, and if you just put her down and drain 3, they have to hit her for 8.
Yeah, it has 6 loyalty,
8.
which is so much. That's like an obscene amount of loyalty.
And do you know how
Yeah.
hard it is to just like ignore her and just like let them drain 3 like every
Yeah,
turn? Like
or
it's almost
draw 2
impossible.
cards. Draw 2
Or exile
cards.
your best thing and get a copy
Yeah,
of it.
that's
Like
th
all of her
it's
abilities could be minuses.
yeah, that's so good, genuinely. Like the -3 is just like so obscenely good though. Like just hitting something like what was the craziest? I'll get into that later with my sickest play, but I definitely hit like a Basilica Shepherd.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was foul.
Yeah.
Like I got to make like 3 things and get rid of their best thing. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Yep, and then I had, Kaido, which is the 4 mana blue black guy. Basically, he just -2s to get a 2/2 Death Toucher.
I think his plus is still good too.
Yeah,
Like
you can make something not block. That's relevant, like
not
super,
attack
really
or
good.
block.
Attack or block, yeah.
Yeah. And you can do it
Yeah.
with like up to 2 things because like he lets you like return something to your hand, right? And then activate him
Mhm.
again if you deal combat damage.
Yeah, I've never ever done that.
Really?
Like, I I forget. I literally just forgot that tonight. I wasn't really attacking very much. I was very much kind of in the blocking
Yeah.
deck usually, like, trying to protect my planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So
You don't
my
really have super great ETBs either, honestly.
yeah,
So
my, key comments for sure were like, the only real key comment I think I have is Prophetic Prism. 'Cause, like, I'm just, like, the jankiest 4 color. You could see from my mana base how janky Like I had no real fixing outside of prophetic prism and drawing cards. Drawing cards is kind of fixing, right?
No,
But
but okay.
it is to me.
Like
I
what?
was
Like when you have to draw 50% of your cards to hit a mountain? No.
yeah, I had 2 mountains, 1 island, 7 swamps, 7 plains. So, I definitely had the sketchiest mana base ever. And, my other key comments were basically just removal. Like, I had a pretty solid amount of removal in here. Like, I had the 2 Vraska's Falls, which are the sacrifice things, 2 Hex Gold Slashes, an Anoint with Affliction, Ossification, Whisper of the Dross, Annex Entry. Like
A
my
lot.
removal is no joke.
It's a lot.
And Kaya too, right? Like
Yeah.
so I had pretty solid removal package. And my key uncommons were probably the main one was probably Necro Titan was pretty good in this deck.
Yeah. The 6/6 for 4.
I will say I had like situations where I just couldn't play him though, because my opponent had to wander out and like I didn't have them corrupted yet. So like if I played him, it would just nuke my entire board if they exiled him and made him come back into play and make me sacrifice something. That's like not a cost to play him. It's like an ETB.
Oh yeah.
So that's horrifying. But
That's hilarious.
yeah, I couldn't play him. He was just rotting in my hand. Like
He's like, he'll just blink. I'm gonna have to sack something else. Like,
yeah, I was like, oh man, like, but yeah, my deck probably had a lot of big weaknesses though. Like, probably in my notes I put Shieldred because like this deck just got mega bodied. My round 2 opponent like just had Shieldred all 3 games we played,
yeah.
and like my first game I just got mega bodied by it. Like I'm playing a bunch of like bad draw cards, like Prophetic Prism and Skull Bombs that make no sense in my deck. But yeah, I'm soft to Shieldred, soft to aggro, and also probably soft to bigger creatures. If I'm not able, so like
It's
basically
like
soft to
everything.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um.
like I will say, like I had like draws that like felt unbeatable at sometimes, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Like it's just like anytime you're playing like a 4-color deck, sometimes your draws are gonna be nutty.
Yeah.
Like and you're just gonna feel like, dang, this deck's literally unbeatable. And then some games you just won't have a swamp for half the game. Like or a prophetic prism. Like
Yeah.
it's just very high variance.
Yeah.
But my sickest play for sure was I killed my opponent with poison one game. Not that I have like any real poison cards in my deck. I was
Mhm.
able to Kaya a Basilica Shepherd, which gave me 2 mites, and then I just minus Kaya again to get their Necrogen Rot Priest. So like it
And
like went from having like no board presence to playing Kaya, killing their biggest threat, and then killing their second biggest threat, and just like taking over the game. And it was disgusting. And there was a play too where I swung in with both of my mites, and my opponent blocked one of my 1/1s with
3/3, right?
yeah, it was like a 3/3. And I ended up using my prophetic prism to make a green mana to activate my 1/1 spirit copy of Necrogen Rot Priest to give it death touch to kill it. Like so there was definitely some wacky stuff going on. But yeah, my
Yeah. I feel like did Bladed Ambassador just like pull a ton of weight from you?
he
Like, were
pulled
you
a
just like
ton of weight. He was like a blocker in this deck.
right? Like
Like,
he's like a top 7 or 8 card in your deck, right? Like he's
yeah,
very good.
he was super. He carried me pretty hard. Like
That's a
there were definitely points too where like Furnace Skull Bomb wasn't hyper irrelevant because like I was able just to give my ambassador more counters to
what do the
chump
count?
forever.
What do the counters do on the ambassador?
So you can remove an oil counter, pay 1 mana, and it becomes indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah, and he's a 3/1, right?
He's a 3/1. My favorite stat line.
Just be blocks and
For blocking. Like be blocking for days. There were times where like I even like double blocked with 2 bladed ambassadors. Like, and just like remove the oil counter and give both indestructible. But yeah, I also say the Necro Titan did some work too. Just having a big 6/6 usually messed up blocks for my opponent.
Do you think my surgical skull bomb would have gave you some fits? Like my 3 skull bombs?
Maybe a little bit, but
Yeah.
I have I'm making quite a bit of tokens too, right? Like 2 of my planeswalkers are just token generators.
Yeah, yeah. You ain't getting to
So
7
yeah,
mana, but yeah,
I don't know. Like I have 2 Hex Gold Slashes and
that's true. That is
a
true.
Whisper of the Dross and
That's
like
why, like, I honestly put in the Aspirant's Ascent, the +1/+3, to counter Hex Gold Slash on my Mandible Justiciars.
yeah,
Like, I play an
but
artifact, I
that
swing with
doesn't
them.
work unless you
Well,
play an artifact
yeah, I
too,
had to play
right?
an artifact first. Like,
Yeah.
the whole reason I put them in was like to protect the Justiciars because people always try to trade with them because they're just, I mean, they're just lifelink. You know what I mean? They're like
Yeah.
impossible to race. So, but yeah, yeah, it's like super counterintuitive, right? Like it has to be at least like a 2 toughness thing for Aspirant's Ascent to counter Hexcode
Hex
Slash
Gold
because
Slash.
it makes Hexcode Slash deal 4 instead of 2.
I will
So,
say Hex Gold Slash was super good in here. It was kind of
yeah,
like weird. I wasn't always able to play it because like my mana's terrible.
yeah,
My
right,
mana
yeah,
straight dog water.
yeah. You
Right.
just like,
But
I'm just gonna take like some good cards, but I'm also gonna have some Mace Skull Bombs. But then I'm like also not
you
gonna have
gotta take
fixing.
you gotta take
Like,
those Mace Skull Bombs from Andrew, right?
yeah,
like there were the like I knew Andrew was just gonna be in red green because he is
yeah,
literally every single week. So I was just taking a bunch of Hex Gold Slashes. I had a Chimney Rabble in the sideboard.
yeah,
like
yeah,
I thought about playing it, but I don't think I needed it. Necro Titan better.
yeah, yeah. Neko Titan does just block those things for days.
Yeah, Necro Titan bodies red green, right?
Yeah, like what can red green swing in the Necro Titan?
They have no removal spells that can kill it.
I
like
mean, they need like the 5/5 and the fight spell,
and
and
the
just
fight
hope you
spell, yeah.
don't have like annoying.
Of
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Or like yeah. Hex Gold Slash carries a lot of weight too, though.
or
Like the fact
Whisper of the
that
Drowns.
I
Yeah.
I could just have like a 1 mana spell that kills like a 4/4. That's pretty gross. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Hexcode
was
Slash. Everyone's in agreement. Like that's the best common in the set, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I was kind of struggling against like the Necrogen Raw Priest. Like that card's very scary
Yeah,
on
it's a
my
one
side.
five. Like how do
Yeah.
you know how you deal with it?
Rebel
Blocking it with
Salvo.
like 5 things. Like you just block it
Yeah.
with 5 things.
And it kills the best one because it's gonna
Yeah.
have Death Touch. Yeah.
Right. But it only kills one, like, which is
If they don't
fine
have a
because it's
pump
a
spell.
house.
If
If
they
they have a
ever have
pump
like a
spell, you lose on the spot, right? But like
yeah.
how else am I gonna kill it? Like how else am I gonna kill it? Like look at my deck and tell me how I can deal with that besides blocking with my entire board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Basically. Yeah.
yeah, that's what
Or
I
just
did.
Kaya it. Just Kaya it. That's all
Yeah,
it
you I
takes.
mean you
Kaya.
have multiple ways to deal with it,
Yeah.
but
Ossification. Yeah.
mine
Annoy
was like tap it and bounce it to their hand until they get sick of playing it. Like
it. Yeah. It was good. Yep. But that's what did I learn during my draft? Probably planeswalkers are good, right? Good
yeah,
life lesson. They're good and
sure.
limited. What lesson did I learn from my games? Planeswalkers are good.
I forgot to do my lessons, and I just want to get one in here because it's more of a tip than a lesson. There are some judges in the like at the draft and playing modern and stuff tonight. And you know that 1/3 that's like when you proliferate, you can drain 2 from your opponent.
It's
Even
not
if
a
you have
may.
nothing to proliferate, you can still get that to trigger. Like if you play Whisper
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Dross with
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I knew that.
Oh
Because
well.
you're still proliferating. You
You're
don't
just
have to proliferate a counter to actually proliferate.
yeah, you're just choosing 0 targets, but you're still taking the action, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
the same thing with like Voidwing hybrid, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I know that from Voidwing hybrid. Even if I wasn't able to get the first poison on, I could still get it back with Whisper of the Dross.
Yeah, okay. I was a little shaky on it, but we figured all
Yeah,
those judges were there, we might as well ask one of them, right?
yeah, I will say it was super fun to like have a bunch of planeswalkers and try and just like I was like reverse engineering how to win, right? Like that's how this deck worked. Like I had to like look at my planeswalkers, see which abilities I could use, like which ones are the most relevant, and just like there was like 8,000 decisions. And it was just fun. It was a fun deck to play. But yeah, Kaido, like, I don't know if Kaido or Nahiri's worse though.
I
They're both
just
pretty.
don't understand how you are legitimately 4 colors and you still had to play 2 skull bombs. They're like do next to nothing for you. Not quite nothing, but like
Yeah.
next to nothing. But you're like 4 colors while you're drafting. Like, how do you not have like 2 cards on your sideboard that just body the skull bombs?
Uh, I like to play skull bombs. I like to have a turn one play, even if it's like kind of bad. It's
I don't
something that I
know.
value in this set.
Okay.
Like just having any turn one play is kind of okay. And like just like throwing them down on one. My mana's terrible, so I want to draw as many cards as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just like
It's kind
what
of a deck
terrible
thinner.
fixing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Basically, yeah, right?
Yeah. Right. Like if I draw
That
more
could
cards.
possibly do something, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but like most likely it doesn't. Sure. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
May Skull Bomb for sure, like mega sus.
Like you have
I had like ways to actually activate it with prophetic prism, right?
oh yeah, for sure. Like you could use it, but like you never did, right?
No, I
Okay.
didn't. I just used it to dig for a land. like
Yeah.
like
Like why
basically.
not just put a land there though? Like that could have been just a land.
Because that's not using mana.
Yeah, but like if you're using this card to find land, then like why not it just be a land?
Because I have 17 lands. What am I gonna do? Run 18 lands?
Sure. Like
Nah. I could have in this deck. I have Kaya, right? Like
yeah. I
this is
mean
like the
like
most.
I guess like the argument is like but it's not a land. It's like it can do other stuff.
Yeah.
But like every time you played it like you wanted it to be a land, right? Like
Not always. Like late game.
okay.
If I top decked it, it's just like they're so free to like the thing that makes them different than a land is late game.
But like
Okay.
isn't that the same as putting like a tap land in your deck?
No. Because late game, a top land is nothing.
Yeah, because it
It's
lets you
terrible.
draw a card.
A top land?
Yeah, the ones that like the monocolored ones that you draw.
Okay, but if I draw that late in the game, it's nothing. The
It's
turn I draw it, right?
yeah,
Next
you have
turn I
to
get to draw a card. But
sure.
like May Skull Bomb late game is just like okay, I could either use this or just like they're better than a
This
land.
is like almost nothing, but not quite nothing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
there's like
I
there's ways to
guess.
like
I
if I ever
prefer
needed.
the tap lands, but
Yeah, I just wasn't sure which colors I was gonna end up to really commit to taking the top land thoroughly.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
And
but
you were
yeah,
hoping for I'm sure you were hoping for like Dune movers to find like basics and you can't find the tap lands if they're like non-basics or whatever. And
yeah. What do you think about like Cruel Grimnark?
oh, I think you just put it in there to be funny and cute.
Kinda, yeah. It's fine though. It gains you 4 life, right? Like if
I
they
mean,
can't
if they
discard a card.
discard. Yeah, which they can,
But
right? Most of the
I
time.
don't know, like you come down pretty late. If you coming down super late.
Yeah. Some people probably can't, but I would say most can. Like I don't you hold lands kind of sometimes? Like
Not
not
really
in
in
this
this
deck,
deck
but
because
like
I needed them. I guess
yeah.
like you and you could also like pitch them away with Nahiri, right?
Yeah.
Nahiri's minus a +1 is discard a card, draw a card.
Yeah.
Nahiri 0 is kind of good too. Like
Yeah.
the fact that it like will get something from your graveyard and let it attack. I won games off that, just getting back like a Necro Titan.
Yeah. They had to be corrupted for that to be good, right?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Like if I just bring it back and sack something,
Yeah.
like yeah, that's funny. Like yeah. I don't have very many. I wish I had like more enter the battlefield abilities. I guess I
Yeah.
could have pitched like the Grimnark to it. It
Yeah,
kind of
Grimlock would be
enables
kind of good.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, Hive Master was good, right? Because like then it dies, you get the 1/1 to stick around.
Yeah. I took a Hive Master over the Shepherd, Basilica Shepherd. Do you think that's correct?
Yeah, I mean,
That
yeah,
was a that leads to our next thing that we're going to talk about because that was a curve consideration because I definitely had infinity for and I had a 7
yeah.
drop already like
Basilica Shepherd overrated too, like for real. But yeah,
yeah, I don't know, it's double wide too.
yeah, and it's double
It doesn't
white.
even have toxic.
Yeah, the mites do, right?
I
But
kind of
yeah,
needed to get people corrupted too, low key, to
yeah,
like make my anoint good.
and yeah, and you're Necro Titan because you never had a body to sack.
Yeah, basically.
With your
Sometimes
eight
you could use
creatures.
the
Eight,
sometimes you could use the zero ability from Nahiri to bring something back
eight
to
creatures,
suck.
and three of them are Necro Titans and Cruel Grimdarks. And you're like, no, dude, I had
Yeah.
plenty of
But
creatures.
Bladed Ambassador, Ryan, that's like
That
four
counts as two.
creatures.
That counts as two,
Yeah,
right?
that's like
Yeah.
four creatures right there. Yeah, it was
Hope
good.
I draw both of my creatures before
Tomato,
I play.
tomato, you
No,
know.
no, no.
I had a duress I almost played, but I was like,
It'd
this
be better
isn't the
than
deck.
May Skull Bomb, in my
Nah,
opinion.
duress doesn't draw a card.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, drawing cards is good, right? Unless they got a shield dread, then it just kills you.
Yeah.
I will say, playing a Maze Skull Bomb into a shield dread was probably like the most feel bad moment of my entire life. But it's like I'm getting punished for already punishing myself by putting a skull bomb in my deck. A Maze Skull Bomb in my four colors except green deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, yep. It was a fun
Oh,
deck. I ended up going 2-0-1.
yeah,
Like
nice.
that's second,
Sick.
but yeah.
Sick. Well, seems like it was fun. Seems like a sick deck. Wish we could have played each other. I think it would have been interesting. I don't think it would have been
It
too
wouldn't
one
have been
sided.
like a
Like,
free what win for either person for sure.
yeah, I don't think so. Like, I think like Bladed Ambassador plus all your removal does a good job of shutting me down. But like, if you don't draw the Ambassador,
Yeah, I
I
think
can kind of.
my deck has draws that are insane and could body you. But I think your deck also has draws that are insane and would body me too,
Yeah,
for sure.
I think my
Like
deck is probably like slightly more consistent than yours,
for
but I don't think.
sure, right? Like you're not playing four colors. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not playing fucking. I'm not playing seven drops either. So
Yeah. You'll have but like the power level too, right? Like
yeah, like your
if it
cards
ever
in a
goes
vacuum,
like
right?
yeah.
Yeah, like I'm trying to
Yep.
win with Orthodoxy Enforcer, and you're winning with Caius. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll never know. We'll never know.
Yep.
Um,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, sure. Me too. All right, we're gonna talk about some curves. What is a curve? You guys hear us talk about it. You hear Robi call in wild things impeccable. Um, week in and week out, you're like,
I
I had
always
an
have good
impeccable
curves.
curve. And we're gonna start you off with like I think a standard curve. This is how you want to approach most sets when you don't really know what the set's about, or how fast or slow the set is. And right now I have one drop, 7 2 drops, 3 9 drops, 4 drops, a 6 drop, and a
You
7 drop.
have 9 3 drops,
I
not
have nine
3
three
9
drops.
drops.
Sorry, 9 3 drops. So 1 7 9 4 1 1 is my curve, like in CMC order. And this is just like a standard magic curve. So basically, like you want to have stuff to do on turn 2, you want to have stuff to do on turn 3, and then you want to have like less stuff to do later because if you get that in your hand early, it's bad, right? Do you agree with
Yeah,
this being like a standard like curve?
I I kind of don't. Like it's a so just for reference too, this is also a Strixhaven deck. And we
Yeah,
pulled trophy decks, right? These are
right.
7 win decks.
Yes.
And I don't know that you can always get away with having 9 3 drops.
I think this
This
is
is more lean toward the slower side, right?
yes, like once you understand a format, the curve becomes like different for a format. I'm just saying this is like a standard early in a format, like how most decks will look before people understand what the format is.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Like this is like a good starting place and then you adjust, I
Hmm.
think. This is not a finalized curve unless like
Yep.
the format is 3 drop heavy. Like this would be like a fine curve in streets, right? Too.
You can't play 8 drops in
Well,
streets,
yeah, but
right?
like
Like,
that's
yeah,
also a, it's a dual
format
card.
dependent thing, right? Like
Yeah.
in this format specifically, you could definitely play 6 and 7, even 8 drops, right?
Right. But yeah, so you want your curve to like most sets I think like have a slot that's most important. So currently we're in first y'all will be 1 and the 2 drop slot is most important. So you should have in general not like this is not like a hard rule, but you should have more 2 drops than anything else, right? In one.
Yeah, that's usually how my decks always end up.
Right. And like but there are some deceptive 2 drops. Like there are some cards that you'll actually play on turn 2 and there's some that you won't. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So curves can be deceptive. You need to take that into account. Like when you're thinking about your curve, if it's a card that you're never going to play on turn 2, like Titanic Growth, then is that really a
That's
2
not.
drop?
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But anyway, so in Phyrexial will be 1, like you want like more cards in your 2 slot than any other slot. In Streets of New Capenna, it's my belief that you wanted more cards in your 3 slot than every other slot because 3 drops were dominant because you had Spring Overseer, Jeweled Thief, like the double striker dude with like a shield counter for some reason, like
Yeah, that was it.
super dumb stuff. But yeah, the curves can kind of adjust. I mean, I think it rarely goes higher than 3, right? Like there's not a ton
For
of
your number
formats,
one, for your number one, yeah.
like
The
most
the
concentrated slot.
it's never gonna. It never should be 4. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be like a super slow format, like
I
super
have
slow.
seen. I think I have seen one where one is probably like the most important.
Yeah, and that's how Hearthstone used to be when it came out. It was like when you draft like your 4 drop slot was your most important slot.
I would say in what's the last one? Brothers War. The one
Yeah,
drop slot was very important.
you think so?
Yeah, like think of like the blue 1/1 that you can sack to draw a card.
Yeah, I
You would
mean
play like 10 of them. like,
those were good, but
like you would literally play like 10 of those. And you would have these weird curves. I should have used that as an example. Like with a 4 drop, you would just have a deck full of 1 drops and 4 drops. Because you'd have like the 4 drop spell that turned an artifact into a 4/4, right?
yeah,
That was a
yeah,
weird set too. But
yeah, it was weird. It was fun though.
can we just take a moment to appreciate that your 1 drop slot and Strixhaven has a brainstorm in it?
Yes.
like, yeah. Oh, Strixhaven is
Yep.
on Premier Draft right now. You guys should try it out if you haven't. Very good set. But yeah, that seems
Uh,
like a pretty standard curve.
yep, that's just a standard curve. That's just a place to start. Like you can adjust based on the set, based on whatever. But if you're like completely new and you like have no idea what we're even talking about, I would look at this and try to kind of emulate it for like your first draft
Yep.
of any set.
I would say, like, specifically for Phyrexia OLB1, you want more in the 2 drop slot. But
Yeah, like you would
yeah,
rather have 9 2 drops and 7 3 drops, right?
seven three
Something like
drops.
that.
Yep. Yep. Just swap them. Yep.
Yep.
And sometimes, like, you'll find out more and more as like the formats go on. Like, sometimes you want to trim more on one side than the other, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, it usually has this shape, right?
This is like the
The
standard
this is
bell
the
curve
shape.
shape. Yes.
Yeah.
That's why they call it a curve because the shape of it, right? It's like if you were to
Sometimes,
plot this on a
yeah.
graph, it would be like a bell curve shape.
All right. So me and Ryan just took turns grabbing 7 win decks. We drafted most of these. This one is the one that I did not draft myself. But pulled it from 17 lands. This is the trophy deck. And this is like I tried to pick Ryan picked like really good examples to teach people things. I definitely picked like weird stuff for sure. So this deck has 2 1 drops, 7 2 drops, 5 3 drops, 7 4 drops, and 2 5 drops. Like this is a very weird deck. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Like we literally just talked about, you don't think it should ever have the most 4 drops.
I
And so it's tied for the most for me. I'm not a huge fan of this style of curve, but I do understand that this was a different set
this is a
and
weird format
most
for sure.
red black decks made a treasure by turn 2,
Yep.
right?
And the,
So your 4 drops are kind of like 3 drops when that happens.
yep. 4 drop slot. AFR might have been the set where 4 drops were very important. But you also had very important 3 drops too. But yeah, like unexpected windfall, the 4 mana discard a card, create 2 treasure tokens.
And draw 2 cards, yeah.
Usually how I would see these decks go is they didn't hardly ever actually had 5 drops. Most of the time you were using unexpected windfalls to like ramp into like 6 drops.
Yeah. So
So
just go
yeah.
1, 2, 4, 6.
Yeah. Usually.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of times they'd have like 3 drops because like for price of loyalty. But yeah, which is like the most broken, degenerate thing I've ever done in drafts. But
AFR was a terrible set. You should never
it's
draft
an
it.
amazing set. I love it. But like Yeah, like it they had lots of weird curves in this set for sure. Like the
Yeah.
fact like any set where you're like cheating on mana and like making more mana, your curves are gonna get weird.
Right. Yep.
It's gonna like push the curve over, and a lot of times you get like them twin peaks, right, Ryan?
Yep. Them Twin Peaks at 27572 too. This is like
Yeah.
this is like a perfectly symmetric curve. Like this is
It
like
is perfectly symmetrical, right? Like
yeah.
that's hilarious. Yeah. Sometimes like ramping will do that. So like
Yeah.
be aware of like how your deck's gonna play out and what your strategy is. I think is
Yeah.
like the takeaway from that.
I think the takeaway is like oftentimes ramp decks will skip one slot and it depends on where the ramp's at. If the ramp's at 1, then you'll skip your 2 drop slot, right? Like if you have a bunch of Llanowar elves and you want a bunch of 3 drops, so on turn 2 you can play a 3 drop. If
Because
you
that's
have a
more
bunch of
impactful than playing a 2 drop, right?
right, like that's the reason you're playing Llanowar elves,
Hmm.
right? And if you have a bunch of like 2 drop mana ramp things, then like you want 4
To
drops,
skip
right?
3. Yep.
To skip 3. Yeah. So this is more of like a fairly traditional ramp curve.
In very
But
non-traditional ramp colors, right?
yeah, this is
Like
like a treasure ramp curve, right? Because like actual ramp curve where like your ramp sticks and isn't treasures would have like 7 drops, right?
yep, yep,
But this is like
yep.
a one time ramp curve. Like so this is a weird one, but I do agree with the curve.
Yeah, like the double peak.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. But yeah, tell us about this next one, Ryan.
Okay, the next one I have is just an actual impeccable curve from New Phyrexia All Will Be One. And I have one drop, which that's kind of lacking. Maybe it's not impeccable because
That's
like
not impeccable. Yeah.
would love to
That
have like 3 or 4 of those, right? But I have 13 drops, 8 3 drops, a 2 drop, and like a 7 drop, but the 7 drop's never really 7 because it has affinity for equipment. So it's basically like a 4 drop max. So basically 1, 13, 8, and 3.
I think your 3 drop flat is what makes it not impeccable, right? It has
Why?
8 3 drops. Well, we're getting into card choices, but
This is like an
what?
aggro. This is
Mm,
like your traditional, like to me, aggro curve. This is what an aggro deck normally looks like. Honestly, a little bit too many 4+ drops for like my liking a lot of the time.
yeah. Like I think your 1 drop slot is usually gonna be thicker,
It
right?
doesn't have to be,
It doesn't always have to be. Like,
but it can be. Yeah, like
yeah.
sometimes there's premium 1 drops in a set, and sometimes there's just not. Like,
Mm,
but you can't afford to play like 1/1s for one that do nothing.
yeah.
But you can still you can still build an aggro, but this is heavily concentrated at the 2 drop. Then it follows up like basically you can look at this deck and you can say like, okay, every turn you played a 2 drop into a 3 drop, right?
Yep.
And that's what happened.
That's the idea behind it, right? Like to
Yeah, that's the
be
whole
able
point of the
to
whole deck.
that's why it's called like curving out, right?
Yeah, it's efficiently spending your mana through the early turns. And then on turn 4, like you might look at my deck and be like, well, if you have 4 mana, like you don't really have any 4 drops. What are you gonna do? I'm just gonna play 2 more 2 drops, right?
Yep, yep.
And then I'm gonna
Or
have 4
like
dudes on the board, and you're gonna have like 1 to 2 dudes on the board, and then I'm just gonna start running you over.
mhm.
Is the plan of the deck. But yeah, I mean, in a lot of formats, you'd have more 1 drops. I think in this format, I'm not really impressed with too many of the red or white 1 drops, honestly. So this is my
So sometimes too, and this isn't always like aggro curves either. Like if you look at the curve from my deck last week, my Demir deck, like my curve is way more aggressive than this, right?
yes and no. My 2 drop slot is all like bodies besides 2
Yeah, yeah,
cards.
yeah.
So
But
your
like
2 drop slot was like
the curve doesn't always
prologue.
necessarily have to be creatures, right?
That's true. That's true.
Like the best way, like you can curve out without actually playing creatures, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like you can just answer their things, and that's usually more how I play, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm always gonna have way less creatures on my deck than Ryan,
Right.
but
Yeah. Like literally always.
yeah, like they're like if you ever just look at it, just like compare 'em, like I had 8 creatures this week, like,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
yeah, your thing last time had like all 1s, 2s, and 3s, and then like
I had a 4 drop and a five
and
drop,
a 5 drop. Yeah, four
and that
drop and
was
a
it.
five. Yep.
Like just one of each. But like I had like 18 two drops. Like, was it 18? It was an insane amount. I think it might have been like 16.
15.
It was
But
15.
that's
Yeah.
counting Blue Suns as a 2-drop, which it is not.
Yeah, that's true.
So 14. So you had one more 2-drop than me.
In a deck that didn't really play that many creatures, right?
Yeah.
At 10,
Yeah.
but yep.
Yeah. 10's a lot for Roby. 10's like, he's like, oh, gross 10.
Yeah, I'm like trying to cut him.
Yeah. Like,
Do you think
just for
there's a
context, I'm at about 16 to 18.
yeah, 10's a lot. I usually like to stick between 4 to 5.
Yeah. Gross. Never do
But
that,
do you
please.
think there's like a discussion about like a creature curve versus like spell curve, like instant other
That's how
type of
I build my decks, honestly.
I build them with my creatures like in my I used to do it more. I've leaned more now into just like doing it all together. But do you think there's like a discussion to be had there where like you think you
Um,
want instants and sorceries that are cheaper or creatures that are cheaper or like
so I build my like the deck building process is different for everyone, right?
and
After you've drafted,
it really just depends on like the set too, right?
yeah, but like I still have the same process for every set. And what I do is I take my creatures and I set them out and I put them in a curve first, right? And I take all my non-creature spells and I put them on the side, and I don't really put them in a curve early. Like I'll maybe add them later, or I can just kind of see, like I can tell where they go because I'm like can see them. But like then I separate those into like like removal, hard removal, and like not hard removal. But like I mostly am looking at my creature curve and then like supplementing it with my non-creature curve. And then like when I go to make cuts, like I'll prioritize like non-creature removal spells first. Like I'll look at that pile and I'm like, okay, do I need all of these? And if like the answer is yes, that's fine. But like that's where I'll first look to make cuts. And then I'll look at my curve and then I'll look at my removal.
I used to be more like that. Nowadays, I kind of group them all together.
Yeah, a lot of
'Cause,
people
like,
do that.
yeah, like, I definitely used to do that, but, like, now I've been playing Demir for, like, a month, right? Like
Yeah,
like, I just group it all together, it's all the same, right? Like, but yeah.
yeah. And the big thing with these curves is like sometimes you will take a pick in a pack and there'll be two cards in your colors and one will be better than another one, but you have to take the 2-drop sometimes. Right? That's the whole point of this discussion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and sometimes curves can be very deceiving too, I
Yes.
think. So that could leads us into our next deck where this looks wacky. It's kind of got the Twin Peaks thing going on. We've got 1 drop, 9 2 drops, 3 3 drops, 3 4 drops, 5 5 drops, 2 6 drops, and a 7 drop. And this is a 7-0 deck, like from Caldheim. And this is a mega deceiving curve. And this might just be format dependent. I think there was another set kind of like this too, where like a lot of these cards aren't actually in the slot where they're actually being played, right?
Yep. Like think Kamigawa Neon Dynasty and Ninjas.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good example. I was thinking of
Or
Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty, but I was thinking of the channel ability.
yeah. Or
Like
Brothers War and the prototypes. Right.
yeah, that's another good example. Like where sometimes like a creature, like even Morph for the old heads out there, like Morph is a good example of that, where
Yep.
like it makes a 3 drop. So like you're gonna have a lot of cards. Any card that says Morph is also could be in your 3 drop too.
Yep.
And specifically in Kaldheim, the mechanic was Foretell, which was like you could pay 2 mana and play it upside down like a Yu-Gi-Oh trap card.
Yeah, you could put your
And
cards on layaway like for a working man.
yep, yep, like a Yu-Gi-Oh trap card, right?
You could play that boy in installments.
So like there are like secretly 1 2 3 4 5 6 cards here that could just be played as 2 drops. And
Like
then like
partially. Right.
partially, right? Which is what what's so weird about Foretell too, right? Like the fact that like even though they were still on two, you play them on two, like you aren't actually playing them. You're playing the first half of the installment. It would give you a way to use your mana on two, but they would still come into play like at different times depending on the card, right?
Yep.
Like
Like
the
it
one
basically
of
took
my
2 mana off the cost of the card
yep,
if you foretold it on 2. Like, there were a few
yep,
that were like slightly different where they only take 1 or whatever, but like most of
yeah,
them just took 2 off the top. So like a 4 drop for on turn 2 you could spend 2 mana on it, and then on turn 3 you could play it for 2.
yep.
It's like
And
it
like
ramped
the six
itself
drop
kind
here,
of.
you could pay for five. So like you would end up like doing that. So like you would foretell it and then you would have it come in on five.
Yep.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting. So be conscious of that because this deck was very strong. It just looks super weird on paper.
Yeah, and this was also a format where like that 5 drop Berg Strider that you see 3 copies
It's
of.
like one of the best cards in the set. Best
Yeah.
commons.
Yep.
And like the Path to the World tree what we're talking about. This is like five
Garbage.
color snow dot deck, right? Like that was like the strongest archetype in the entire format.
Nah, Boros aggro, baby.
I don't know. Boros aggro couldn't touch this deck. Just the
Yes, it
fact
could.
it really couldn't, Ryan. Do you see the two avalanche colors?
I don't care.
So
Literally,
you're gonna get through the
I'm
one
gonna
three
run
that makes
amok.
four fours for one.
I'm gonna run
Like
amok on them.
you're gonna run amok my land into a land, right? Like into my 4/4
Yeah,
snow
Avalanche
lands.
Callers were uncommon. This deck is better than most of the the snow
Yeah,
decks. Two
yeah.
Avalanche Callers is kind of egregious, right? Like it's like the
Path to the
equivalent
World
of
Tree
getting
insane
two
too.
Annex Sentries today. It should just shouldn't happen, right?
Yeah, the Path to the World Tree is like cruel ultimatum for
You
two mana.
know.
It was like a bomb. It unironically was kind of a bomb, right?
Yeah, it kind of was, but like you had to pay like
It sure don't
a
seem like it,
billion,
right?
like 7 mana for it to be a bomb. But yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's
9 all told, right? Everything together. And
yeah. I
Boros like
love Kaza.
Boros had like 4 3 drops, and that was like the curve. Like everything
Yeah,
else was 1 or 2, and like 4 3 drops.
yeah.
But yeah, this
But
deck could deal with it because Bergstrider and stuff, though. Like
Berkshire and like yeah,
all kinds of ways.
there's a
Yeah.
move.
But yeah, this is
Yeah.
just a weird curve because it's a weird set and it has like cost reduction as a mechanic, basically.
Yep.
But it's still a viable curve. And it was a 7-0 deck, which means it was a good curve. It was more than viable, it was good, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um,
And I will say another thing too. Like sometimes like spells are creatures, right? Like instants
yeah,
and
for
sorceries.
sure.
Like a good example of that was Strixhaven, right? Where like half of your creatures were just instants or sorceries you played, right?
Yeah, I put those in with my creatures when I'm doing like the
Yep.
curve. Like if it's a spell that like creates bodies, like I just put it with my bodies when I'm making my
Yep.
curve. And speaking of Strixhaven, I have a Strixhaven deck here that's like an example of an aggro deck, kind of aggro deck, more mid range, but like this would be somewhat considered an aggro deck in Strixhaven because Strixhaven was such a slower format.
Yeah, that was a set where like 6 and 7 drops were viable.
Yeah. And so like there was 2 basically decks that were like top in Strixhaven. It was like red, green, blue, like
It
7
was green
drops,
blue. It was green blue.
splash
Was
red.
like the
Like people
main.
played
They would
red.
splash red. Yeah.
Yeah, it was green, blue,
Yep.
splash red. And then white, black aggro. But like the white, black aggro decks are like pretty weird because like you didn't just stop at like 2 or 3 mana because you would like learn and get like cards out of your sideboard and you just needed a billion mana for everything.
Yeah. So like they would still play like 16, 17
Yeah.
lands.
But yeah, this is like a faster mid-range curve, and it's 8 2 drops, 5 3 drops, 5 4 drops, 3 5 drops that can cost less, some of them, and 2 6 drops. And this would be considered like a faster Strixhaven deck, I think. Not like the fastest. There were faster white black decks, but this was like a early in the format kind of speed type deck.
Is this one a slope? Is that what we call this for skiing?
Yeah, yeah,
That
sure.
that's
It's like a
another
slide.
example. Yeah, slide curve. You
Yeah.
got the Twin Peaks. You got the one half a peak, which is this deck, right?
This is a slide. Like it starts up high and
Yeah.
then just goes down, 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 right? Like
Yep.
I'm playing a 2 drop, and then every turn after that, I'm trying to follow it up with like a 5 drop or a 3 drop, a 4 drop, a 5 drop. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that's kind of what this curve is trying to do.
Mhm.
And like when you kind of see them, it's more apparent, I think.
Yep.
And when you think about it in this way, because like you should always have your curve in mind and like what your deck's actually trying to do in your like when you're deck building. And like it's not as complicated as we're making it sound, but like this deck was like trying to play 5 drops, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so how can I play 5 drops without losing the game? Well, I need to play a 2 drop, a 3 drop, then a 4 drop, and
You
then I
need to have
won't lose by
less
turn
of them,
5.
right? Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
yeah, and like you could, yeah, this was a weird set too with weird curves, but it was fun.
Yep.
Because like you could get like half of your cards said like find a land if you want to, like
Yeah. 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 Like that was a very weird set for sure.
yeah,
Like
like this is
learn
the
mechanic.
yeah this is
We
the
picked
set
like
where
terrible examples, low key, but
yeah this is I mean we is a strong
they
word.
are. They are. Yeah, I picked terrible examples, but
um
there's definitely differences, right? And
yeah
like
there's
sometimes you can be successful with weird curves, but for the most part, I think the single peak is like the main one to learn. And
yeah the
then
single peak either at 2 or 3,
2 or 3, yep.
and then you can kind of devolve from there, right? Like you can
So
either
if we had to,
decide if you're a Roby or a Ryan. You know what I mean?
yep, yep, you need to like choose your path in life from that
Yes.
point. And like which journey are you gonna go on? Do
Like
you want
like
excitement or do you want the same old, same old? You know, like you just gotta choose. It's a lifestyle from
it
that point
is. It
on.
really is.
Like,
Do you enjoy winning?
like, does it really matter?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Because like, if you don't, if that's not what it's about, sometimes people like me, I just like bad curves. Like sometimes I'll just get a kick out of just having a bad curve, and that's funny to me, and I'll just do that like as my deck, just because like I like to be contentious, right?
So Roby likes to break every possible rule that he can and see what he can
Yeah,
get
that's
away
the
with,
point. Yeah, yeah.
right?
So I
And
play
I like
41
to
cards and I'll push it up till I start losing.
yeah.
like
What do I like to do, Roby?
same old, same old. Same old, same old.
I
Attack
follow
a
the
lot.
rules. I follow the rules because the rules are there for a reason. You know what I mean?
They are, right? But you can also break them if you really want to.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. And
You can
like
be
I will
successful doing that
sometimes
too.
too,
Yeah.
right? But just not nearly as often as you do.
It takes a lot more effort to do it that way, for sure. And I'm
That's
aware of that.
debatable.
To like
That's
really break the
debatable.
rules, like you got to be okay with losing more. Like you have to have like way lower expectations.
I like more effort is wild to me though, because like you can like everyone can just take their favorite card from a pack and be like, I wonder what this curve's gonna be. Like,
But to be successful doing that takes more
yeah,
effort. Is
I
what I'm
mean,
saying. Yeah. So like the rules are there because that's what works for the most people, right? Like
sure.
you have to go out of your way to break the rules and be successful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But like
that's
I
all I was
think you
getting
can
at.
be like I also think like it's hard to like follow the same rules that 90% of people do and like have a higher win percentage than those 90%. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but yeah,
like to follow the rules better than everyone else, I think is like also difficult to do.
yeah, yeah. It's hard
Because
to be successful. That's all
yeah,
we're
it is
getting
hard
at.
to be
Yeah,
successful. True.
in draft, it really is. So like,
Yeah.
it's gonna take practice, no
It's a
matter
skill that takes
which lifestyle
years.
choice you make, right?
Yeah. Yes. And like you can be both sometimes. Like
Yeah,
sometimes I build Roby decks and sometimes Roby builds Ryan
aggro
decks.
decks.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
that happens.
yeah. I think
Uh,
to me the most important tool and thing you can be in a draft is just open.
yeah,
But
yep.
well,
I tend to agree. I got one more.
oh yeah, we got one more.
One
Let's go.
more. All
This is
right.
this is
This is a good one.
this
This
is
is
Mount Everest curve.
yeah, this is like this is one of the weird ones for sure. Like it's a single peak, but it's I've got one drop, 13 2 drops, 4 3 drops, 2 4 drops, 2 5 drops, 2 6 drops, and a 7 drop. Like, so this is a wacky one. Like where in a weird format, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, where the 2 drop slot was very, very important
Mhm.
because you needed blockers for literally everything. You had to block. If you didn't have blockers up on turn 2, you were dead because of the way that like people
Virus
were able.
beetles being
Vi-
ninjutsu'd.
yeah, virus beetles being ninjutsu'd, anything being ninjutsu'd. Like one drops were very important in this set too, just because people were able to get out their moon circuit hackers onto.
Yeah.
Like ninjutsu just like ruined combat. like
Yeah.
like you literally had to block or kill everything that was attacking you.
It was
Or
almost
else
like
they would just.
toxic, right?
Yeah, it was. It was like almost even stronger, right? Like
Yeah, it
moon
was definitely
circuit hacker.
scarier.
Yeah, like you literally had to block everything. Like one of the best green commons was the 2-drop 3/3 with Defender,
Green
right?
Reach.
It had reach too, which
Yeah.
was an insane blocker.
Which I told
just-
Roby that was going to be good before the set started.
I was
He's
like, nah.
no, I'll never play that. No.
It's good. It was good. I was wrong.
If you arranged your cards to where they could actually like be played for their channel cost, because like there's a ton of modal cards in here that can be actually do different things than what they are.
Yep.
The curve would be very standard, honestly.
Yeah, kind of, right? Like that, and that's what's weird about it, right? Like the
Yeah.
3, like one of my 6-drops would have been a 3-drop. And then like my Sky Turtle could either be a 2-drop or a 3-drop. And then my Sunblade Samurai would be a 2-drop. And
Your Tanuki could be a 3-drop.
yeah, a lot of the higher curve things were secret 2 and 3 drops, right?
Or like modal, yeah, they were able
In
to
modal,
be.
yeah.
Yep.
And modal cards are always going to mess with your curve and make it look funny on paper.
And modal cards are like almost always good in draft.
They're always
FYI.
very good too, right? Like, because
Yeah.
7 drops are good in draft when you have 7 mana. Because, like, if you have a 7-drop, like, one of the greatest draft cards I've ever seen in my entire life was a 7-drop. And that was Mascot Exhibition in Strixhaven.
Mythic rare, yeah. But
It
yeah,
was a
very
mythic
good.
rare. And basically, it came down, made like 3 things. It was basically unbeatable. But it was a
so good
7-drop. It
that Roby
wasn't
thought
good.
I was cheating because I got it 2 weeks in a row. That's how good it was. This is before we were like.
It was
cool.
like it had like an egregious win rate. Like if you
Yeah.
had this in your draft, it didn't even matter what you did. If you just had like learn cards, literally any learn card. Yep.
Yeah,
But
it was basically like a 7-drop card that 10 of your cards could find for
yeah.
free.
And so it like seeing that made me realize like 7-drops are good in draft, but they're only good when you actually have 7 mana, right? So if you had a 7-drop that's able to do something else, but like if you had on 7, it could do that thing too. Like that flexibility is very, very, very strong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So like that's why like this curve is kind of deceptive, right? Like and that's kind of what made it good was having the flexibility to either have a 6-drop or a 3-drop, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely Mount Everest. It looks insane.
Yep.
like very high peaks, like very wild looking curve for sure.
One thing that I think is a key takeaway from this, I know like it kind of devolved into nonsense. Is your 2-drop slot is like hyper important in almost every draft. Like if you ever look down and you have like 2 or 3 2-drops, you might be in for a long day, right? Like if you go back through and look at every single one of these decks, the lowest amount of 2-drops any deck has is 7.
Yeah. 2-drop, and it kind of depends on the set too, right? Like sometimes your 3-drop slot's more important for sure.
Yeah, but 2-drop's still important though.
Yep,
right.
Very important. Yep.
So if you're in doubt between a card and another card, moral of the story, take the 2-drop.
Yep, usually, yeah.
If you're
2-drops that do stuff are always insanely good.
2-drops that have a keyword are usually very good too.
I'm a little bit more. I need my 2-drops to do stuff.
Yeah, like so in Magic, your opponent has like 20 life, right? And if your 2-drops just like turn sideways and take some of that, that's pretty good.
See, that's not good enough for me. That's never good enough for me. Like
that's pretty good.
I need my 2-drop to do something important.
Like block.
Like block, right? Like kill a flyer, kill something, like
draw you a card.
Make a 4/4. Like avalanche call. Like if you look at like the difference between 2 drops between me and Ryan's curves, like, you just, like, see the lifestyle choice, right?
Yeah.
Like like, all his 2 drops are for attacking, and all of my 2 drops do something else.
Like card
Like,
advantage, almost all of
card
them.
advantage usually, like, just looking through them. Yeah, like, I
That is
like 2 drops that
hilarious.
do stuff, yeah. Never like, you'll never, ever in a million years ever catch me playing a 2/2 for 2, and that's all it does. Like, I won't do that. Like, I'll take literally anything else over that.
Oh, it's bread
Uh,
and butter. That's bread and
yeah,
butter.
I'm not about it. Not about it. That's the lifestyle choice.
That is. That's the major
Uh,
difference. That is
yep.
hilarious. Honestly,
Yep.
like looking at it, it's
Like, the difference, yeah. If
yeah.
you have a second, just look through these for sure, but
Yeah, because like I'll play 2 ones that have lifelink because like that's pretty good.
I won't.
Yeah.
I'll
Like
pay 2 I'll play 2 ones with lifelink to live longer.
let's play a
I
game.
like
Um
but, yeah.
Mandible Justiciars, Roby, you have played probably less than 3 this entire format. True or false?
False.
False? Okay.
I played a lot of red white early on in the format,
Okay.
which is like a card that's bad in red white, but it's still like okay, right?
It's fine. Yeah, sure. Like it helps you survive, right? To
Yep.
be able to do your equipment shit.
Mm,
But like,
but yeah,
were you
yep.
happy about it?
Yeah. Usually,
Oh, then
it's fine.
okay. Well, then never mind.
Like if you have like a lot of equipment, right? Like it just gets a little bigger, saves you a little bit
Yeah,
of life. Yeah.
it's like a 3-2 sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a 4/3. Yeah.
But
So.
yeah, you would take Modern Age over it every time.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I would first pick a modern age over like most cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll
All right.
moonticket hacker your flyer to replay the Modern Age.
All right, let me do a quick check for you. How many pestilent siphoners have you ran in this in this set?
Set a number, set it over under, and I'll tell you over or under.
Under
No, just pick a number and like try to hit it dead on, and I'll tell you if you're over or
2.
under. Oh, I played over. Probably three or
Uh,
four. 3 or 4. I haven't played the black deck very much, but 3 or 4.
prologue to Viresis.
0.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That checks out.
0.
How many do you think I've played? Probably
Uh,
hundreds.
Hundreds. Yeah.
Like honestly, probably at least 100. Like at this point, you know.
You need to have the 17 land stuff on your phone.
Yeah, yeah. But
I
yeah,
think
that's all
everyone
we have
should.
for
Yeah.
this week. But yeah,
Quick
everyone should
plug.
get 17 lands.
Get the 17
Yeah.
lands data, and it's like nice to look at your stuff and like re-go through your drafts, and you can watch your games, and like if you have any questions about a draft you did or a game or like some games you played and you want us to look at it in the Discord, just let us know and we'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
At least
for
I
sure.
will be, right? You will
I
be
will
too,
be
right?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love helping people with
Yep.
drafts. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. If you if you want to find out about like which lifestyle choice you chose.
Yep. And I
uh,
post my 17 lands trophy decks in the Discord a lot of the time, and you can actually go back through and watch the games I
watch the
play.
picks too. Like it's really cool what you're able to actually do with 17 lands.
Yep, you can watch the
For sure.
picks, you can watch the games I play, you can like go them kind of slow to see if you would do the same thing. And it's always good to go back and re-watch your games because like sometimes you'll catch lines that you maybe didn't see in the game because you might be like hyper focused or something. You know what I mean? Like hyper fixated on a incorrect line.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, we'll catch y'all boys
Yeah.
on the flippity flop.
Yeah, join our Discord.
Yes, please.
Like and subscribe. Bye.